Good morning. My name is Jennifer Jarbo,
Hi.
and I am Billy's special education teacher.
Billy's mom.
And today we have this meeting set up so that we can kind of discuss his achievements that he's made so far in the last IEP year, as well as discuss the goals and things that we're hoping for until his next IEP meeting. So we're going to start with the assessments that I have given to Billy over the last few months. And I'm going to explain to you kind of what they are and the purpose for having these assessments done, and then talk about kind of where I would like to see this information go from here.
Okay.
So starting off, I have completed some informal assessments with Billy over the last probably month and a half, and I did some phonological skills, some phonics skills, as well as some sight word testing with him for the informal assessments. And when I was doing those, I have been able to gather quite a few bits of information. He does have a very great letter recognition, and he is also very good with letter sounds, and so he has that foundation very well. But we have noticed that with the blending and the CVC words, so consonant, vowel, consonant words, he struggles a little bit more to get the words blended together.
Okay.
And I'll kind of show you some of that in the data that I have. The first assessment that I did indicated that Billy is functioning about an 83% accuracy rate on his phonological skills. So he scored higher than 83% on 11 of the 16 skills that he was tested on in that specific test. And then we went and did a phonics assessment, which is where it indicated that he had very good letter recognition and sound recognition. And then later on in that test is where we started noticing some of the difficulty with blending. And so I will let you look at some of this data, and this is just showing the skills that were tested in the PAST, which is the 16 different skills here. And then we went over the QPS and the QSS, and that is where we started with the letter names and sounds, and then the CVC and digraphs, which we have noticed some struggles with. After I completed that assessment, we moved on to sight words. And when I had given this test to Billy, we were still working on the Literacy First kindergarten list sight words. And since this point, we have actually moved on to List A, which he has, at this current moment, 71 of the first 100 words on List A.
So, like, what kind of words would those be?
They are just the first most common 100 words in our language for him to be able to recognize from sight.
Okay.
And so he's done really well with that. We've made some great gains and strides, and I'm kind of curious.
So those are the lists he's been bringing home? They're from that list?
Yes. I sent the most recent list home, I believe, 3 or 4 days ago, that had the remaining 29 words on that list to kind of work on at home and at school as well.
How long does he have to work on those, though?
Our overall goal is for the next 9 weeks, I would like him to have mastered an additional 15 words off of that list.
So not that whole list right away.
No, not right away. We've been working on 5 or 6 words at a time, and are able to develop a better understanding of those words before we add any more.
Okay.
So that was with the informal assessments that we have given him. Then I have also given him some curriculum-based measures, which have covered both reading comprehension and mathematics. And this kind of testing, the grade levels have fluctuated a little bit because I was just trying to piece together exactly where he's functioning at. I started out with the mathematics assessment in August, and I started with a second grade math probe, which consisted of 16 questions. And, excuse me, he correctly answered 7 of those 16 questions, which would have been about a 44% accuracy rate. And so after that point, I decided to go back to first grade skills with him to try and see which foundational skill we were lacking. And so when I tested him in September, he had correctly answered 12 of the 16 of the first grade skills. And then in October, I went through and did 2 assessments, one at the very beginning of the month and one at the very end, to kind of monitor his progress and see where we were functioning at. And the very beginning one, he scored 11 out of 16. And the end, he answered 5 problems correctly, but I kind of feel like the end was impacted by the anticipation of the upcoming holiday and how excited he was about Halloween. And so I think we probably could have done a little better.
That's a pretty big holiday in our part of the world, you know.
It is. So I think he probably could have done a little bit better.
Okay.
I know that he has those skills. I just really think that it was the anticipation.
Okay.
And so then with the reading comprehension, I tested on the same schedule that I did with mathematics. So I did 1 test in August, 1 in September, and 2 in October, once at the beginning, once at the end. I started with a 3rd grade passage because Billy is in the 3rd grade this year, and I had that passage read aloud to him because I wanted to kind of see where we were at with our listening comprehension, because I think that there's definitely a difference between his listening comprehension and his reading comprehension. We have discussed in the past that he has started demonstrating some difficulty and some confusion with letters, and so we've kind of talked about the possibility of dyslexia. And I know that you had mentioned in one of our meetings.
Yeah, his dad and his uncle both were diagnosed with dyslexia
I'm
when they were young.
wondering if that could be part of the issue, and I also wonder if maybe that has something to do with his blending difficulty that we just talked about.
That's a part of dyslexia, is that blending piece?
The blending piece is a very big part of it. So I'm kind of curious to see if that has something to do with that. Okay. But with the reading comprehension, the 3rd grade passage, he scored 10 out of 20 on the comprehension question, so about a 50% accuracy with listening. And so I decided that I was going to backtrack and see what he could read independently and then be able to provide. And so I started him with a kindergarten passage. He read the whole thing and answered the questions at 100% accuracy. Okay. So I knew that that was very well. He was doing pretty good with that. So we moved it on up to a 2nd grade because I wanted to see if maybe we had more skills. And so he read the passage independently. And on the first one in October, which would have been the first 2nd grade passage, he scored 4 out of 12, which... that was kind of to be anticipated because I hadn't really worked much with him on that grade level yet. And so the second one in October, he actually scored 7 out of 12 points. So there was a great improvement between the beginning in October and the end of October. Okay. So, and I have these 2 graphs that I have kind of created, and they show the baseline for him, and this one is our reading comprehension. The baseline was at 50% accuracy, and so it shows where he started on the 3rd grade level. He was at the 50%, and then this would be the kindergarten level where he was up to 100. This shows where we backtracked a little bit and went down to the 2nd grade level, and our aim line is the 50%, or our baseline is the 50%, and he scored about a 33%. What our short-term goal for him would be is for him to be at that 70% range in accuracy within the next 9 weeks. So we have been doing...
on 2nd grade
on
stuff.
On 2nd grade reading, yes. Gotcha. So we have been working on some reversals and things that I have noticed that he struggled with a little bit, and I'm hoping that that's going to help us get to that 70% accuracy. And this is the same kind of thing down here with the math. It just shows the baseline at 44% and where his aim line is, which is also a 70% goal for the end of the 9 weeks. And it just shows at the grade level that he was working at and kind of how his progression has been.
But math is just at 1st grade instead.
Yes, math is at the 1st grade level because he seemed to be demonstrating some more difficulty with that. And I think that information kind of correlates along with the Woodcock-Johnson assessment that he was given. That is the norm referenced assessment. And this is the score report from that assessment. And you'll see that down here it shows that his standard deviation for his mathematics was about a negative 0.87, and so his mathematics standard deviation was slightly lower than his reading deviation. And so what that means is basically that he is not progressing as well with his mathematics as he is with his reading.
Okay.
So that's just the data that was collected from the Woodcock-Johnson, and
Okay.
I do believe that there is a pretty strong correlation between the data that was gathered on all three
Okay.
of those. So I kind of want to talk to you about the strengths that I see and the weaknesses that I see with Billy before
Okay.
we discuss what my goals are for him.
Mhm.
So he is wonderful with letter and sound recognition, and he has done very well with the identification of those. So those are two very positive strengths for him. He also has been doing very well with his sight words,
Mhm.
which is phenomenal with the increase that we've gone when he was working on the kindergarten list to now being almost completed with list A in a short amount of time. So
Well, you
he's
kind of
doing-
motivated him because he didn't used to want to work on anything like that, and now he is.
Well, good. That is wonderful to hear. That's what our whole goal is. And with the difficulties that I was discussing with you, the CVC words and the blending, those are kind of some weaknesses that he's been demonstrating. And with the blending, I've also noticed that we've had some issues with the beginning and ending digraphs, so the sounds that are at the beginning and the ends of the words.
What's a diagram?
It's two letter sounds that combine to make
Like
a CH or
Okay.
SH, something
Yeah,
like
like
that.
that.
He's
Okay.
had some difficulty with that.
Okay.
But like we've discussed, I really do believe that the blending difficulty is because of the potential dyslexia that he has.
So you have some ways we can work on that?
Yes, I do. I actually have some information that I can send home with you.
Okay.
And in the classroom, we have been working on some reversals of letters because I've noticed that's kind of something that's been difficult for him, the difference between B and D, P and Q. And so we've been working on that in the classroom, and I have some resources that I'd be more than
Okay.
happy to send home. So those are just some things that I really do feel like are making things more difficult for him, but he has come such a long way. He's
Okay.
been making some great progress. So I have 4 overall goals that I would like to see for him. 2 of those are short-term goals that are going to hopefully become achievable in the next 9 weeks.
Okay.
And then the other 2 I'm hoping for by May.
Okay.
Okay, so for the short-term goals for mathematics, by the end of the 9 weeks, I would like Billy to be able to correctly answer 15 out of 16 first grade math problems. So when
Okay.
I'm giving him a probe that has 16 questions, I'm hoping for correct answers on 15 to 16.
So it would be
of
like
those.
addition and subtraction problems?
Yes.
Okay.
And there is also some basic like shapes and counting, that kind
Okay.
of thing. And then for reading, I'm hoping that in the next 9 weeks that he has mastered the additional 15 skills. So that would take him from 71 words on his sight words to 86,
Okay.
which is almost passing list A.
Okay.
So that is my short-term goal for him. The long-term goal, mathematics-wise, by May of 2019, which would be the end of this school year, I am hoping to have Billy be able to correctly answer 75% on a second grade math probe. So that would consist of 16 questions, and the goal is to earn a 75% accuracy or higher on that.
Okay.
And his reading long-term goal, also by May of 2019, I would like him to be able to correctly answer 75% or higher on a second grade reading comprehension.
And that's the one that he's going to read by himself?
That's one that he's going to read by himself. So it's the same type of material that we've been working on. I'm just hoping for an increase in accuracy.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for me or any concerns?
No, I'd just like to get that information that you said you'd be sending home with me.
Okay. Overall, I'm very proud of Billy and the achievements that we've seen him make, and I'm really looking forward to being able to help him achieve these goals and push past where I know that he can be.
Okay, thanks.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for all your work with him.